Hey, everybody, welcome on back to Rubbin Racing. This episode is brought to you by Body Armor Sports Drink. Body Armor is real hydration with electrolytes, coconut water, and no artificial dyes, flavors, or sweeteners. With your favorite flavors like strawberry banana and orange mango, but in a brand new look you're going to love. It's time to rewrite your routine and get rid of the sports drinks your grandparents drank. Get your Body Armor today at Walmart or a local grocery store near you. Body Armor, choose better, blackout berry, elite flavor for Body Armor. Let's get to the episode. Hey, everybody, welcome on back. It's a Rubbin Racing podcast with Spider and Large, but also with Quiggs and Moonhead, and most importantly, with Jacob behind the ones and twos, making us all seem like we're pretty smart. We have a very special guest today. He's going to be coming up in just a minute, and it's Tony Stewart. So Tony Stewart was nice enough to come into the Chicago offices and did a little bit of cooking content with Chef Donnie, and spent some time with us. So myself and Spider tear it up with Tony Stewart in just a little bit. So let's get to the show. We only got one DM this week. It was from a guy named Jacob, spelt a little bit different. He said, I had a genius idea. NASCAR Legends EV Series. This is after he heard you talk about going down to Miami last week, Spider. He said, on Fridays, 6 races a year with retired drivers, Kurt Busch, Tony Stewart, Greg Biffle, Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards, Bobby, all those type of guys, and try to start 10 to 20 cars for each race, making around 50 laps, depending on the size of the track, and crown a champion at the end of the year. What do you think? This is exactly like SRX, but I guess with EV cars.
I was going to say, I love it. It seems like IROC. It seems like SRX, and that I've long said is kind of a good thing that we had that is no longer. So I would love to see it come back, and this seems like a great kind of medium for it, especially if you have some of the legends in the sport wheeling the things, and then following up with feedback and changes and what they want to see more of, as much as what you'll hear in a little bit from Tony Stewart. Those ideas and feedback aren't always heard. So
I would think that Tony Stewart would be down to drive a red wagon in a race. But do you think that guys that he mentioned, like Kurt and Biffle and Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards, Carl Edwards is probably not going to get a car, Labonte, all these guys, do you think that they would even want to do EV stuff? Or is it something where, old-fashioned guys are kind of against the electric vehicles? Like my dad still doesn't eat anything that comes out of a fucking microwave because he thinks it gives you whatever. You think it's even possible? I don't know if it's possible, but I think it would be a hell of a lot of, especially if you mixed in local heroes. Like all of a sudden Bubba Pollard is in an EV vehicle. I don't know if people would fucking string him up saying that he's a traitor to everything that they grow. Moonhead, would that work out well? Like that's sometimes where we see some of these local legends and we love them, but do you see Bubba Pollard going up against fucking Butterbean in an EV thing?
I think it'd be cool. I think you're right. I think it would take a little bit of a PR to get maybe the general public on board, just because of how stuck in their ways NASCAR fans are, and then especially grassroots racing fans. But all along, I had kind of hoped that was the plan for the EV. Like, I don't want to see, obviously, the Cup Series or any series be replaced by the electric series, but I do think the car's badass, and I think that they could probably take it to places that they can't take regular NASCAR and do things like that. So I think an all-star style series to showcase the car in front of, whether they did it indoors or at street courses with other series, or even on the Friday before a regular NASCAR race, any of those options I think would be really, really cool for it.
I think they should extend the driver incentive program to retired drivers as well. I mean, if you told Kurt Busch he was going to get paid to compete in this race and simultaneously, get back in a car and do NASCAR related stuff, I think he might be intrigued by that. Tony Stewart is a guy that you said, Large. I think he'd run about just about anything that has wheels on it. The other guys might be a little bit of a harder sell, but I think if you combine them with, like you said, local legends or even a cup guy here and there, and simultaneously get feedback from all of them, that would be a winning formula, in my opinion.
Quiggs, this one's specifically for you. You're working for the EV series, and you got to make the call to Martin Truex to ask him if he's interested in running in the new EV series thing against a bunch of guys. How do you think that phone call goes?
I'd send him an email instead.
Right.
Be less embarrassing.
Yeah, be left unread for fuck. But again, I think collectively the four of us think that it's a great fucking idea. If they could pull something like that off, there'd be no better way to push EV cars than do this. to have guys that are, legends on any kind of level get in there and just see whether or not they're, and maybe it would fail miserably, however you want to fucking say it, but it would get that out there quicker than anything. So it's a pretty good idea out of Jacob. Let's go to headlines. One, run what you brung. It just seems like such a fucking good idea for the All-Star weekend, and it got shot down by the teams. Jeff Gluck went fucking bananas, dropped an F-bomb, which is unlike him. We drop them all the time here because we're a bunch of cunts. But so he was like, you got to take this. And then Denny went on and said, no, it's too expensive. It seems like more and more people are starting to pull this idea apart a little bit just to see how much it entails. And it probably doesn't make as much sense as it just sounds fucking great. Run what you brung, like type thing. How do we feel about it? How do we feel about teams shooting it down when it probably was an opportunity for us to finally see, hey, do whatever the fuck you want with the car, put the ball bearings in, lift it up, do all this kind of shit, and now we're not going to get to see it at all?
I'm personally a little bit disappointed. I think it was a great idea. I think NASCAR employs some of the best engineers, and whatever you want to call the job of people that seemingly find a way to kind of cheat the cars up a little bit for any minimal edge. They do a great job, and something as small as Joey Logano or Ryan Preece's minute modification of the car ended up with them getting DQ'd this week. But I would love to see and allow these teams to kind of do what they think would be best for the cars and see what that looks like on track. I like to think that the richer and more kind of prestigious NASCAR teams would deliver in that kind of setting, but instead we're just kind of all on a level playing field. And I think All-Star race should be something that they kind of
Gimmick.
Gimmicky, sure, but this is a way that's almost the opposite of a gimmick. This is almost a draw, and I know that's kind of what a gimmick is. It's meant to be like, something that gets people entertained, but a lot of the times all-star activities in any sport are kind of like shit on, whereas this is something I feel like would be like, today there's no rules, like do whatever you want, and I think that would have been a joy for a lot of NASCAR fans to see.
Spider, I think you make the best point between gimmicks and this. This might be something they can build off of.
Right.
The promoter's caution is gimmicky and it's stupid. And I think they should give that caution to Moonhead. Moonhead, after lap 100 and before lap 220, throw it whenever the fuck you want and just have a picture-in-picture of Moonhead with the fucking yellow flag in his hand, waiting to you know what I mean? Like, I think that would be a little bit better than what they're doing now. And let's see how they do it at the race. It might be something very cool, but whatever. I do think that this is something that's not gimmick. I use the word gimmick pretty easily, but I don't think it's done in a bad way with this. How much would you have looked forward to this, Quiggs?
Oh, I think it'd be great. And it's sort of like as they build whatever the next generation car is, it's like a place to get ideas and things that you could share. Like the same way, like the XFL was, you could say, a gimmick league or whatever. But
right.
The NFL is like, those 3 things they did out of the 100 different things they did were really good. And we're going to bring that in to where they could do that almost internally, where it's like All-Star weekend for 10 years is that there's a bunch of things different teams are trying out, a bunch of modifications to the car, and some of them might stick and be like, that makes for better racing, a better car, stuff like that. So I think it's great.
Moon, I think you wanted to run what you brung and are probably disappointed that it's not happening, but do you think like maybe the all or none on this is where the problem is? Maybe not a run what you brung, but do something, fuck with the tires, or, like something a little bit more granular that won't cost these teams. Like Denny was saying, it's going to cost him $1 million a car, and he only gets to 7 cars. He's going to have to replace all this kind of, not $1 million a car, but $1 million, I think maybe for the 3 cars. And, the All-Star race only pays $1 million, and it has since 2003 or whatever. So do you think that could have been the fix for not getting this? Like, give us a partial?
Yeah, I think they should. I mean, it should definitely be an experiment race, especially if it's going to be on a short track, because that's probably the worst style of track for the next gen car right now. So I'd like to see some sort of compromise. I feel like there's kind of greed and whatever on both sides now. I think a lot of people want to point the finger at NASCAR, but it kind of seems like the teams were the one that screwed this one up over money, and maybe rightfully so, but I feel like there could have been some sort of common ground. I don't know how we go from run what you brung to we'll just throw a caution at some point and feel like that's equal. But yeah, I'd have loved to see them try something, even if it sucked. Like I like seeing them try stuff.
Right. But maybe like a bring your own tire.
Yeah.
Like something in between, or I don't know. Let's move on. Joey Logano and Ryan Preece are both DQ'd after Sunday's race. Logano was DQ'd for a loose bolt, and Brian Priest was DQ'd because he can't get people's fucking nicknames right. It hurts, right? Because Logano is already having a terrible season. He was 10th. He moves from 10th to 13th. I don't know why I categorized that as terrible. Whereas Ryan was outperforming this season. Now he's moving from 14th to 19th. Very, very, specific. I think we're all under the impression that the drivers don't know about this. An extra shim or a loose bolt doesn't seem like Joey had said, hey, make sure you loosen that fucking thing up. Or Priest is like, can you throw another one in there? But still, this fucking hurts. And obviously it affects the way that people celebrate after wins, particularly if you had Joey or Ryan in top 5 situations. But that all got overshadowed by Chipper Jones. Chipper Jones got in his fucking cups and started to tweet away on this. I don't know if I have to read the whole tweet again, but there was no fucking gray area. He went after Joey Logano fucking hard. And afterwards, there was another 5 tweets just about Joey Logano on Chipper Jones's page. That, it seems like almost something personal there. Joey had come back with, for someone who's in professional sports, who's been in meetings, he would know there's probably more to his story. I'm surprised that it went that way. Maybe he was just bored. I don't know his situation. Either way, I tell you, I just don't care. So Joey Logano, Chipper Jones smoke. How do you guys feel about it? I'm not asking you guys to be team one or the other, but can somebody convince me to be team Joey Logano? Because I think I might be here. I might be arguing with you guys if you want, but go ahead. Tell me why this is you guys are team Chipper on this.
I just think it's spot on. I mean, and don't get me wrong, maybe there's some truth in what Joey was saying about Austin, but it rings hollow when Austin goes on to win the race. And I understand, obviously, Joey's kind of had a slow start to the season. He wants as many stage points as he can have, but at the end of the day, it's about winning races, and Austin did just that. So I think you look like a giant kind of idiot when your teammate goes on to win after you kind of badmouth them. Also, I think, and Joey's been very good to us in every interaction we've had. He's seemingly like one of the nicest guys when you put a mic in his face. I don't know if he forgot that he was on a mic here or that we would be able to hear this, but very out of character for him. And I think his reply was kind of like, his reply to Chipper just didn't make any sense to me. He could have just been like, I lost my cool, which he kind of did say, but it was, I don't know. I'm easily team Chipper here. I think it's great that Chipper was watching the race. I didn't realize his ties to NASCAR, and he quote tweeted someone and said, I grew up right outside Daytona Beach. Like, I love NASCAR, or something to that tune. I think it's great to have him in there. And I think majority of people you're going to ask are going to be like siding with myself and Chipper, thinking that was just a kind of crazy thing to say. But I'll defer to the cast.
I think everybody is team. Most people are team Chipper. I'm going to try and take the other side, but go ahead, Quicks.
I love when like a just professional athlete, and I don't really follow Chipper Jones, so I don't know if he's tweeting all the time, but I don't think he is. But when they just like turn into like a Reddit commenter on the internet, it's so funny. And I think it's great. He was just so passionate and mad, and he's just like a fan, like just a straight up fan that's pissed off about something. I think that's awesome.
He also celebrated I didn't see this until right now. Bob Pockers tweeted that Ryan Preece and Joey Logano have been disqualified, and he quote tweeted it and said, my day just keeps getting better.
Yeah.
I love
it. He kept going. I mean, this is something that we want, particularly after that Talladega race, and we'll get into that. But, after the Talladega race, we needed something to kind of grab onto here, and this fit the bill perfectly. So I'm not against this smoke, but I'm going to try and fuck with Chipper anyway. Chipper Jones fan, Moonhead, or no?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think whether you agree with his Joey Logano hate or not, having Chipper Jones that fired up about NASCAR is cool, because hey, he doesn't have to care. He damn sure doesn't have to publicly say all of that. And the fact that he was so passionate that he took to Twitter to shit all over Logano, I thought it was cool. And I thought I was disappointed in Logano's response. I thought he kind of sounded like a wimp. I thought he should have gave him some shit back or something and kind of played into it, but he just kind of seemed like a baby.
Yeah, Logano said like this is Chipper Jones just like clinging to whatever sort of relevancy he can have. Chipper Jones does not seem like that kind of guy. Like he left on his own terms. You know, he's been relatively quiet since he was a star in baseball, at least from where I sit. I don't see him like clout chasing or trying to keep his name in the news. And I think, like Moonhead said, he just got fired up watching a race, which is like the best case scenario.
That's also like in the grand scheme of things, like we're in the NASCAR world. The like Austin Cindric, Joey Logano beef is not how you stay relevant. In the world.
Exactly.
Like it's not a big.
He could have picked anything.
Topic.
He could have went the John Rocker route. He could have. I don't know. There's a lot of different things he could have done.
And Cindric doesn't really want any. And I think Cindric knows his place at Penske, so he had taken the high road and said, "I actually do own an Atlanta Braves hat, but I wouldn't dare wear it to the meeting." Like that would have been fucking cool.
Yeah.
If you walked into the Monday meeting, you know,
Chipper
rocking
Jones
the Atlanta
jersey
Braves
on.
hat or something.
It is interesting to me that now, and this is not a knock on Austin Cindric or Josh Berry, but like out of the Penske adjacent cars that have won so far this year, it would be my last two picks in Cindric, and although that's kind of unfair because
they certainly aren't your favorites. If you look at all the Fords, those two guys aren't the fucking guys that you pick preseason to have their first wins.
Right.
You know?
I guess I shouldn't say that because I was very high on Austin Cindric at plate tracks. You know, I thought he was going to win Atlanta. I thought he was going to win at Talladega, and I had him on my card, and he did. I guess if you asked me, gun to my head, who's winning first from the Fords, the popular picks would have been Blaney and Logano. So it's a little bit interesting, and I kind of see why Joey's a little bit upset. But in my opinion, he should probably focus on what he can do in the car as opposed to replying to critics online.
I say it all the time. I'm a special type of angry when I'm driving. We all are. Somebody cuts you off and you immediately try to look and see what the person looks like. You fucking redheaded jerk off. You can't drive. Irish guy, probably drunk. Like, you know what I mean? Like you say stuff and do stuff. So Joey has to push the button though. Like he makes sure that people had heard that. So I'm having a tough time. I'm having a tough time taking the other side of this argument. So I will go with you guys. Joey should have came back better. Chipper Jones, you know, Hall of Fame third baseman. I get all that stuff. But he also raw dogged a Hooters waitress, right? While he was married. So
is that real? I didn't know that.
Be like, yeah, so he raw dogged the fucking Hooters waitress, knocked her up while he was fucking married. That's a scumbag move. Why don't you mention that? How are the fucking wings last night? Chipper Jones, the day after fucking Sandy Hook, tweets. So the FBI comes out and confirms that Sandy Hook was a hoax. Where's the outrage? What else were you being lied about? Waco, listen, Chipper, if you're in your cups and you're going to fucking tweet about Sandy Hook, maybe take a step back after 20 kids and 6 adults were just fucking gunned down. So I have a reason to maybe think that this guy's a dick. Right? Like I personally think that Chipper Jones is a dick, but I don't necessarily think that he's wrong here. So maybe that's the fence that I'm going to lay at. I wish that Joey would have called me. I wish that Joey would have called me because I would have been like, you know what I mean? Like, Chipper, where did you tweet this from? Were you sitting on some sort of Sandy Hook so more people would know about when this guy gets in his cups, he tends to fucking tweet like an asshole, right? And then when he gets in his cups, he also tends to raw dog Hooters waitresses. You know, so I'm saying if you're going to be in public eye and not expect people to dig that up, Joey should have had that right in his fucking bandolier strap. And I'm embarrassed that somebody in Penske didn't give him that fucking ammo. Because that would have been awesome. Then we have Joey Logano versus Chipper Jones. And like, you know what I'm saying? And I'm here for the smoke, but I don't know. Maybe I just don't like Chipper Jones. So he can go fuck himself. How about that?
Yeah,
Joey's probably wrong for doing it, but Chipper Jones can go fuck himself. You can clip me on that one. Let's go to the, are you guys good with that? Or am I a little bit out of my
way?
Oh, okay, above my skis.
I wasn't expecting it, but I'm good with it.
Yeah. Let's go to the Xfinity race. Austin Hill wins another one, right? Austin Hill wins another one when they throw a caution. When poor Connor Zilic, he hit the wall fucking hard. So hard that we just got the news today. We're actually taping on Thursday that Kyle Larson is going to be jumping in his ride. We've said this multiple times. We've had this young man on our show. So right from the onset, he said his back has been injured somehow. And we're about to have Tony Stewart on and he's somewhere along the line going to complain about either that broken leg or, his fucked up back. I hope that this isn't something serious. Spider, you were watching the race with like Gragson and whatnot. When you had seen it firsthand or watching it firsthand and he didn't get out of car, it was terrifying, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. I was watching on the backstretch with Noah and a couple of his buddies. Shout out Christian. And at the race kind of ended and they were like, oh my God, Zilich is still not out of the car. And I guess in the grand scheme of things, I mean, this is, I guess not, I don't want to say good, but I'm saying it could have been substantially worse.
Yes.
And when that's the case, it's like you're hoping, something kind of recoverable. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. But.
No, I mean, you're doing the exact thing that you should be. The T's and P's, right? Like
Right.
we're hoping that this is a one race incident, and then the back is a weird thing, and he's such a young kid. And I don't know if anybody here would disagree when I say he's arguably the future of the sport because he's so young and so good. I hope this isn't something debilitating to him.
Absolutely. And we've seen drivers, with back injuries and stuff. And it seems like one of the worst things that can happen to a NASCAR driver, especially one that's this young. I feel like guys, I mean, there's a laundry list of them, but ones that I remember most recently, Alex Bowman, and that took him a while before he felt comfortable back behind the wheel. So I hope that's not the case with Connor Zilich. I sent him a message after and I just said, I hope you're all right. He replied and said, all good, just a little sore. So that was immediately after the race. Hopefully that's the extent of it and it's just sore and he is, taking a week off to rest. But yeah, I think it's a reminder of how crazy the sport is. And, as much as effort goes into the safety and the research behind keeping the drivers safe, there's always, bad things that can happen. And I'm glad that hopefully, this won't impact him too much. And we wish him a speedy recovery. I do think it's interesting that Kyle Larson is the replacement because I feel like, I don't know, like that's like getting, that's like, hey, I'm going to be out of Rubbin is racing this week. I have a wedding and I just bring Dave Portnoy in to cover for me.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
He could never do this podcast.
Yeah. Huge Chipper Jones guy. I'd be
hey,
fine.
in that scenario, I'm Connor Zilich, which is kind of flattering to myself. But you know what I mean? It's
I think Junior Motorsports is making lemonade off of what we hope isn't something that's very lemony because they're going to have Kyle Larson jump in the whip this weekend. So good luck to Kyle and a speedy recovery to Zilich. But anyway, when the white flag, when the yellow was thrown, they did that photo finish thing. Jeb Burton looked like he got fucked from whatever angle you were looking at it from, but Austin Hill was eventually the winner, and it marks the 9th Super Speedway victory for Hill, making the 30-year-old Georgia native the NASCAR Xfinity Series all-time winningest drivers on drafting-style tracks, breaking a tie with Tony Stewart and Dale Sr. So it's fucking huge. So I have a question for the three of you guys. Let's say you go to a super speedway track. This is going to be a hypothetical. I'm going to pick one and I'm going to say it's Daytona. And you're going to run a race in Xfinity cars. Okay? We're running a race in Xfinity cars at Daytona. We don't have to do a shitload of laps. Let's say it's 25 laps. But the thing is, we're going to increase the field to 101 cars. Okay? In 100 of those cars are going to be gorillas. And these gorillas are going to be those high-functioning gorillas that, like, sort of like from Planet of the Apes. They're strapped in. And the other car is Austin Hill. Austin Hill versus 100 gorillas on Daytona. Who wins? Quigs?
Austin Hill. If Austin Hill has the pole, he wins.
Yeah, I think that's clippable. Go ahead. Yeah,
it's got to be Austin Hill.
It's got to be Austin Hill.
Any type of way you want about him, but you have to kind of tip your cap at to what he's capable of at speedway or plate tracks. He does it time and time and time again. So credit where credit's due, and he's up there with some unreal company. So I'm not saying he is, in the same category of those drivers, but when it comes to this specific track type, I think he's as good as anyone. And it's there for as much variables as there are in this race and how many wrecks and people get taken out, especially on the Xfinity level,
especially with gorillas.
It's almost more impressive. So I would take Austin Hill in that scenario.
Austin Hill versus 100 gorillas at Daytona. Moonhead, who you got?
My money's on Hill for sure.
So it's unanimous. So where everyone else is talking about 100 gorilla or 100 men versus gorillas, we're tackling the real issues right here. And across the board, Austin Hill beats 100 gorillas on a plate track any day of the week.
Honestly,
go.
not even on a plate track. If we had to draft 100 dudes in America to send to war versus one gorilla, I think Austin Hill should be in consideration, even outside of a car. That dude's a fucking tank.
Other update from the Xfinity race, Catherine Legg led a lap during a pit cycle, but had her third DNF in 3 races after being collected by Eric Amarola. She's racing Xfinity again this weekend. Maybe she can turn it around. We're all rooting for her. But Xfinity has been doing very well this season. I had seen this graphic that it had over 1 million viewers again on the CW. So it's the first time since 2017 that the first 11 Xfinity races all pulled in over 1 million viewers. That's fucking great. So good for them, and they've been showing some good races. We were in Talladega this week. Myself, eclectic group. Myself and Spider, obviously. Eddie from Chicago. Hey, what's up, guys? Chef Donnie was there, and Joey and Pat from the Out and About pod. It was a weekend, man. It was a marathon this weekend. We had a lot of fun. We could talk about the quality of the racing Saturday versus Sunday in a couple of seconds. But Spider, give your impressions and give your highlights of what had happened to us down at Talladega this weekend.
I thought it was great. I mean, Talladega is always fun, and I think this weekend was no different, despite what the critics are saying about the race. From where I sat, it was an unbelievable weekend. Instantly greeted with hospitality and, love. There was a great sign saying Spider and Large stop here for a beer. Like, that is the Southern hospitality one can dream of. And the boulevard was rocking. I mean, Friday was rainy, so we didn't get to do some of the stuff we wanted to. We arrived to the track a little bit late after our flight was delayed out of Chicago. It was a little bit of a slow start to the weekend. We kept boarding the plane and being unboarded because of thunderstorms in Chicago. But we ultimately made it there. And Saturday, it was all worth it. We saw an unbelievable Xfinity race. I got to spend time with a lot of my favorite drivers, and including Noah Gragson. You'll see in the vlog, but Noah was just setting me up for a massive hangover. I went and took the golf cart over to where he was watching the race from. He kept saying, "Hey, Spider, can I have one of those beers?" And then he would take the beer and he would do it like he was going to shotgun it and just hand it back to me. And I had to shotgun like 3 or 4 beers. I was feeling real nicey, as John Gruden would say.
Yeah.
But no, it was great. We saw a lot of our friends in the sport. Riley Herbst came by the RV.
Chase, Blaney. I mean, they all came by the RV. It was fucking nice.
Chase and Blaney did some cooking content with Chef Donnie, as did Tony Stewart in our office yesterday. So all 3 of those videos will be coming soon. And then just a great time. Sunday morning, woke up really, really hungover, and we got to the racetrack, and our great crew from NASCAR had, I think it was Jack's Breakfast. I'm not familiar with Jack's. I think it's a regional fast food chain, but I had the greasiest chicken biscuit you could have for breakfast, and it just instantly brought me back to life. And then on Sunday, we went to the Old Row, I don't know, what would you call that?
They had the stage up with the DJ and the giveaways and all that stuff. It was
yeah. And then we caught the Cup race, and we were hanging with Alabama football again for a second year. It was a great time. And obviously, I think a lot of people were critical of the actual racing product, but I was happy with it. And maybe that's just because I cashed with Austin Cindric, and Ryan Preece at the conclusion of the race had finished second, and I gave both those guys out as winners. Unfortunately, Ryan did get DQ'd, but we still cashed. I think it was 16-1 on Cindric. So overall, I had a great weekend. And there, again, the only weather impacts were on Friday night, and I can live with that. So all the rain came down, and the skies cleared for the rest of the weekend. So I think it was about as good as it can get. Now, I didn't watch on TV. From my perspective, we were in one of the best areas to watch the race from, right on the finish line, in a beautiful air-conditioned, climate-controlled suite where we could have conversations during the race. So yeah, I don't really have any complaints, and I thought overall it was great. We got to ride the Dente. We hung out with Carson Hocevar and some of our Chili's clients, and they gave me a really sick cowboy hat that you could see right there.
Right there.
And at first, I thought it was just like some kind of shitty cowboy hat that they had embroidered with Chili stuff. Someone pointed out to me that it's like a $500 cowboy hat. So
I brought mine home.
yeah, same.
Which
had
was
to
tough.
I was going to say, it's not traveling with a cowboy hat is not easy. So I just wore that on my head the whole way I was commuting, and people thought I was ridiculous in the airport. But no, definitely a nice little collection to the stuff you see behind us. So we appreciate Chili's for their support. Also, make sure you guys are subscribed, because a full length vlog of our Talladega experience will be coming out in the coming days. So that will definitely be worth the watch.
I same way. I had the very early flight out of Birmingham the next day, so I showed up I rented a pickup truck for the weekend. I showed up my pickup truck with my fucking hat on, even though I'm probably the least Southern guy that's ever lived. Great time. The Conecuh sausage that Patrick, shout out to Patrick, had a Conecuh sausage that, it's only made in Alabama. For a lot of the players, I eat that shit like it's going out of style. Those dudes that put up the sign for us could be the nicest group of guys ever. We'd stop by Quiggs as we were going by this one turn. There was this little billboardy type thing out that they wanted me and Spider to sign. So we brought the whole gang over there. They gave us a 5-pound can of beans for some reason. I still don't know why we had that for a while. They were like, "Oh, bring it on the show." I'm like, I don't know how you check a 5-pound bag of fucking bush beans, but all those guys were great. So we appreciate that sport. I saw more naked tits this time around in Talladega than I've ever seen, because the weather was so bad on Friday. Everybody saved up their nudity for Saturday night. So when we went to the concert on Saturday night, the boulevard was mobbed. And if you were there when the concert let out, it was like a scene from The Walking Dead, where everyone just then came onto the boulevard and everyone just wanted to be naked and drunk. It was a really, really good time. I had a really good time. The only thing I will say about the racing, Spider, is that when we brought that many people, and we almost promised them, you gotta fucking stay, awake, not awake, but you gotta stay alert here at the end for the big one, and the big one didn't come. I could feel those guys being like, wait, what happened to this fucking, big crash? So, from that perspective, having guests, if I take a guest to a prize fight, that winds up being a very boring decision where everybody just hugs for 12 rounds, you're a little bit disappointed too, as opposed to getting to see a circus knockout.
Yeah.
So in that respect, I thought that we could have got a little more juice for our guests there, because we certainly had enough of them. But otherwise, another fantastic weekend set up by for NASCAR for us. I will say that when NASCAR's Elton Sawyer on Sirius said you have 67 lead changes among 23 different drivers, so when we look at all that, what are we trying to fix? That's probably not the right answer for NASCAR fans who are pissed off. Moonhead, give me an idea of what you saw at Talladega that you didn't like, and then tell me how it's a bullshit stat, 67 lead changes among 23 different drivers, when you're just lined up, too wide, and every time somebody's nose punches out, that's considered a lead change. It's very, very deceptive. Talk to me about the race.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just probably be echoing what we've all read on social media, but they've got to do something where it's not just 2x2 gridlock. I mean, the most exciting part of the race is when they're 4 wide, saving fuel at half throttle or whatever. And to me, that should be the case. Like, obviously, Denny asked for the side-by-side comparison of the Xfinity last 2 laps versus the Cup last 2 laps. And I saw someone do that on Twitter, and honestly, to me, that's the answer right there. However, we need to go about making the Cup package look like the Xfinity package of the super speedways, I think is what they need to do. Now, will they be able to, because the cars are so different? I don't know. That's for people smarter than me to figure out. But it sucks, because it went from, I think, kind of similar to what we've seen with the short tracks. Talladega, Daytona went from being must-see TV or races that people were, waiting years to attend, to now they're kind of lackluster at best. So I don't know what the fix is. I'm not an engineer. I think the car has a lot of fundamental problems from the ground up that affect more than just the super speedways. I know a lot of people want to see the fuel saving go away, but to be honest, I think NASCAR could get rid of the fuel saving with tweaks to the stages or whatever.
Mhm.
But I think that they know that if they did that, then it would be single file or maybe 2x2 gridlock the whole race at best. So I think in their eyes, the fuel saving and all that maybe manufactures a little bit of excitement that the car can't. Because the race on Sunday, it was boring by Talladega standards, and it was not a great race. I definitely voted no on the poll. But the one redeeming quality was that there was some strategy, and there at the end, it was exciting to see the Toyotas and the Spire cars pit and then have to chase down those who did pit, and then Chastain throw in the big haymaker block to break it up. So I don't know what the fix is with the car, but they've got to do something because we have taken way too many steps back on the super speedway front, similar to what we've seen with road courses and short tracks as well. So
those are two different opinions. One from a guy that was in a luxury suite with me, eating cater food and drinking ice cold beer on the start finish line, looking over everything, surrounded by his friends, and another guy who may have been on a couch next to a 400-pound pet pig who had to watch NASCAR go into a commercial with like 6 left to go. Right?
Don't get me started on that.
I could tell you that infuriated people. Like, you know what I mean, Spider? We have a good taste in our mouth from this whole weekend because of all the shit that we'd gone through. It was just a great experience the whole way through. Like seeing the big rig come down. I mean, Talladega is the shit, man. You got to go there at least once. I'm not saying it's my favorite track, but it's very, very fucking cool. But I think what people had gotten at home pissed them off. Pissed them off. I was talking to Parker Kligerman about it for a while. Yeah, Parker Kligerman was around our V2 for a while. I got to talk to him in depth.
Yeah.
What a nice guy.
He's the man.
Yeah,
he really is.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully they can, make some tweaks. But when Elton Sawyer comes out and tries to pull out a bullshit stat, and I wonder if we're going to hear that later on in the interview with Tony Stewart, drivers, fans versus people with stats. But when he comes out and pulls out a bullshit stat like that, I think it further infuriates people. And so, a couple little tweaks and we can get back to the old ways of having something that's good for the fans that are there and good for the fans who are watching at home. And at the end of the day, like, I just look at the top 10. I love this top 10. Like, I love to see all of a sudden a much-needed top 10 for Suarez, Austin Dillon sneaking into the top 10, Carson P6, and Noah Gragson P4. It's kind of cool, to see the results of this thing. I'm just wondering what they can do to make this thing more enjoyable for everybody on both sides. I will tell you, do not stay at the Holiday Inn Express in Pell City, Alabama, and expect to have hot water either in the morning or in the night. There's like a 2-hour window in the middle of the day where you can get a nice hot shower. But otherwise, me and Spider were in there taking horse baths with cold water all fucking weekend. So as far as I'm concerned, that hotel is the Chipper Jones of fucking hotels. All right. So with that, we're about to go 3 wide with Tony Stewart, and it's brought to you by Game Time. They don't make it easy to buy concert tickets these days. You got to sign up for the pre-sale, get in the queue, and by the time you get through, the best seats are all gone. Going to a concert should be about the show itself, not waiting in a virtual line. Lucky for me, I always use Game Time, the official ticketing partner of Barstool Sports. Game Time makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the app actually go down the closer it gets to showtime. I was looking at tickets around New Year's for Pitbull, and I saw an amazing deal for seats. I think I paid like $119 a piece. Took the whole family there. I was so close. I was covered in Cuban sweat. So what are you waiting for? I'm going to buy those Pitbull concerts. Anytime I see them pop up, I'm going back to see Pitbull, and I'm doing it through Game Time. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, and use code Rubbin for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account on the Game Time app and redeem code RUBBIN, Rubbin, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? It's game time. And with that, let's talk to Tony Stewart. All right, everybody. So as promised, 4-time Cup Series champion, including one as an owner, who's now driving for his own Tony Stewart racing team in just his second full year in the NHRA Top Fuel class. He's the pride of Bartholomew County, Indiana. It's Mr. Tony Stewart. How are you, Tony? How's everything? It just happens to be a Hall of Famer. I couldn't even get your accolades onto one fucking sheet of paper. You know what I mean? We'd be here for the whole goddamn interview, but it's a pleasure having you on. How are we feeling?
Thanks. No, great. It's everybody has been talking about the list now of the things that we've won in. And I'm like, it started because I found out at an early age I was too lazy to work a real job, and I had to be good at something that was going to pay. So here we are 40 some odd years down the road of driving race cars and still winning races.
You don't get sick of winning, right? A couple of weeks ago, you grabbed your first win in the Top Fuel in Las Vegas. I think you're P2 following week in Charlotte, and second in championship standings now. It's one of those things where everything you touch seems to turn to gold. Is there a point in your life, Tony? I'm 53 years old. I don't know if that sounds familiar to you.
Oh, yeah.
I can't muster up the fucking wherewithal to get out of bed most mornings. When are you going to stop getting behind the car and competing at a very high level and just enjoy the family you're creating with Leah and all that kind of stuff? When is it enough for Tony? You're going to get disgustingly fat and just eat Saharicos ice cream with me on the sidelines at some point.
It's a great question. And I know there's going to be a day that's going to come, but I feel like you're just going to wake up one morning and go, okay, I've had enough. And I don't do it now because I have to by any means. I do it because I want to. And it would definitely be a lot cheaper on my retirement fund if I wasn't spending it on pistons and rods and nitromethane and Goodyear tires and all that stuff. But I don't know. I still wake up every day. I still go to bed at night with that drive and desire to go to the racetrack on the weekends. I mean, we made history when we won the NHRA race out at Las Vegas with the Top Fuel car and put ourselves in literally a one-off category on our own of guys that have won an IndyCar and NASCAR, the USAC Triple Crown, and now won an NHRA Top Fuel drag race. So it's just never been done in the history of motorsports, which is unbelievable. You don't even think about it till it happens. But yeah, literally, I think Monday, I had a friend that's also a sponsor on one of our cars that unfortunately lost his wife the week of, and went to a funeral on Monday and then came home and actually with my family, with Leah and our son Dominic and our friends in Lake Havasu City, Arizona, got a chance to actually enjoy it for a day. But literally after Tuesday or Wednesday, the celebrating was over and the thinking about the record books is over, and was literally focused on going to Charlotte and trying to figure out how do you do it again. And that's just the mentality good racers. That's their mentality. They win a race and all they want to do after a day of celebrating is think about how do you do that again? How do you get to the next one?
But is there a little bit of adrenaline junkie mixed in there too, as far
Hell
as?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Absolutely. Right. There's no way. There's no way you would climb in a 12,000 horsepower dragster that goes 1,000 feet and is running 330 plus mile an hour when you get there. If you didn't have a little bit of an adrenaline junkie built into you, you would not do that for sure, because that is not a casual sport.
So then can I say it in front of your face that you're a crazy son of a bitch?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, good, because
it's going to be on my gravestone when I die. Yeah. It was at the bottom. He had a good time. He enjoyed himself, and he's a crazy son of a bitch.
Crazy son of a bitch. Yeah.
You've pretty much driven everything with wheels on it at this point. Is there one thing that you haven't gotten behind the wheel of that you're like, damn, I really want to do that?
Man, I've joked around about it. I mean, literally for a long time, the only thing that I hadn't driven was a swamp buggy in Florida. And at the time that we were thinking about it was a figure 8 car. And Indianapolis has a track called the Indianapolis Speedrome. It's a 5-mile oval, and that's where they hold the figure 8 world championships. It's a 3-hour race. And I always thought, man, that'd be cool to try. But then I sit there and wake up in the morning, like we mentioned, I take a extra hot, extra long shower to loosen everything up, and realize after breaking my back 4 times that maybe a figure 8 car is not only not a career choice, but not even let's go try this and see how this turns out. So I don't know. There's a lot of different cars, and there keeps becoming more and more cars more series that come out that have opportunities. But off road, I'd love to try the Baja 1000. I just physically don't know if my back could take it.
Yeah.
But man, I would do it in a heartbeat. I'd love to do that race, but just physically as time goes on. I mean, I'm 53 as well, and I wake up in the morning, I'm sore. I got to stand in the shower longer. It probably wouldn't be that way if I'd get my ass off the couch and go actually work out in a gym like my wife does. But you just got to make that decision. I mean, if you want to do it, the old saying, if you want to play, you got to pay. And so we're paying back pay now.
At least you're standing up in the shower. I threw football for 10 minutes with Spider in Talladega. I'm sitting down crying every morning in the shower, to be quite honest with you. Just consider yourself lucky. Can you tell us this? So our podcast is sort of a grassroots introduction to NASCAR for a lot of people because the Barstool crowd isn't necessarily a NASCAR crowd. So that's what we're trying to do, concentrating mainly on the Cup Series, and then we go beyond with that. But can you tell me the similarities between traditional racing and then what you're experiencing with the NHRA as far as, I don't know, schedule, toll on your body? Like what could we expect going to a traditional Cup race versus going to a traditional NHRA race?
So I think all the years that I spent in NASCAR was very similar to everything else I'd raced. I mean, I raced sprint cars. I had raced IndyCar, ran sports cars a little bit here and there, ran the Rolex 24 hour. Going to a NASCAR weekend's a typical 3-day weekend. You practice and qualify on Friday. We would have 2 race practices on Saturday, and then you race on Sunday. NHRA is somewhat similar to that, other than you make 2 qualifying runs on Friday, 2 qualifying runs on Saturday, and then it's like an NCAA bracket. It's a 16-car field on Sunday, and you know, if you win your round, you go to the next round, and so you're going to run 4 rounds to get to the finals, or the finals would be the 4th round. I think the best way to describe it, my wife, I remember when we went on our first date, and then there was a couple weeks that we didn't see each other, and I cyber stalked her. I mean, I was on the internet nonstop.
Right.
And I saw an interview she had done, and I can't remember who the publication was with, but they asked her what she thought the difference was between running a Cup car and what they do with a Top Fuel car in NHRA. And I thought the answer was really smart. She goes, what they do in 3.5 hours, we do in 3.5 seconds. And she's pretty damn close on that. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happens in a 500-mile, Cup race that takes 3.5 hours. But I can tell you the amount of things that you do and think about and have to react to in a 3.5 second run is way more mind-boggling than I ever thought it was going to be. I mean, that was literally the hardest thing about learning how to drive a Top Fuel car, was the fact of you would hit the gas and your eyes aren't even pointed the direction you're going. Like, you're looking up to the right or up to the left, depending on what lane you're in, and you see the light change and you hit the gas, and then you're trying to get your eyes on target down track, trying to figure out where you're going. So for me, my eyes would be seeing information, and the car would be one of the big time increments is the 330-foot cone. So when you watch a drag race, once the cars leave the starting line, the first single cone you see out there is 330 feet away. We would be at the 330-foot cone in the car, and my brain's back at 200 feet going, wait, what the hell's going on? Wow. What are we doing? And it literally, that was the hardest thing, was to get my brain to learn how to process information as fast as my eyes were bringing it in. So it's like it's trying to data log, but you can't decipher all of it right away in real time. But it's no different than lifting weights. You're not going to bench press 400 pounds the first time. You got to work up to it. And your brain learns and will train itself how to process that information of what it's seeing. It learns how to process it faster. So that was one of the things that just totally caught me off guard. I thought driving the car was going to be the hardest part. Driving the car for me was not the hardest part. It was one of the easiest parts. It was the staging. It was the whole procedure of, doing the burnout, backing up, learning how to stage correctly, and doing all this in a time frame that is, the cadence of the time frame is real important, because nitromethane nitro cars burn a gallon of fuel every 10 seconds.
Whew.
Nitromethane is the heaviest fuel. It's 9 pounds per gallon.
Wow.
So every 10 seconds that you're sitting there idling, it's burnt 9 pounds of weight off the front of that car. And that's weight and balance issues at that point. Plus the fact that if you run it out of fuel, it blows it up. So it's like having a wick on a bomb, and if your wick's not long enough and you run out of wick, kaboom.
Yeah.
So there's just so many things that in NHRA drag racing and driving a Top Fuel or funny car that you have to think about that you never thought about in IndyCar or NASCAR or any other form of motorsports. So it's just, I tell everybody, everything I ever drove was kind of in this big giant bubble, and NASCAR's off to one side, IndyCar another, dirt track, sports cars, but they're all in the same bubble. There's a lot of similarities with all of it. You go to NHRA drag racing, it is over here on Fantasy Island. You're waiting for Tattoo to come out in his white tuxedo. and welcoming you to the racetrack.
Really?
It is just drastically different. And what I tell fans, I mean, I got invited the first time through the U.S. Army when Tony Schumacher was driving the Top Fuel dragster, and with Stewart Haas Racing, we had the U.S. Army on Ryan Newman's car. So I got invited to go to the U.S. Nationals, which is like the Daytona 500 for drag racing. And didn't get real close, didn't want to be in anybody's way because it's our big race of the year and race day, and saw it. But you have no idea watching it on TV. TV does a great job. Fox does an amazing job with the broadcast. The hard part is the smell, the feel of it. When those cars go by and when they hit the starting line, I literally felt my insides of my body moving inside my body. And I'm like, there's nothing that's ever made that happen. And I was car sick when I got home. Just
Tony
from
Stewart
standing
was
and
car
watching this.
sick.
Yeah.
Right?
From
So, you see,
standing,
that's
not even being in a car though,
Just
but
being there.
standing behind a Top Fuel dragster when it ran.
Would you mind
So-
if I just asked a follow-up question then? We often say that I don't think people can truly get into NASCAR until they see a couple of races live. Like I do
agree.
think that that's where the grandeur comes into it. Then you can fall in love with it. I never felt more American than I've ever felt, in the pits when they do the flyover and whatnot. I just think it's a great experience. Do you feel the same way with NHRA? Do you feel like you need to be there, or is there enough action and Fox does enough of a great job on the coverage of it that you can get hooked just by watching it a couple times on TV?
NHRA Live is like on steroids compared to NASCAR Live.
Oh, really?
Like NASCAR Live is like going to the Japanese buffet and they give you the 2 shrimp for your appetizer. That's what that is like. That's what NASCAR is like compared to going to a drag race live.
Okay.
I mean, because once the race starts, it's 3 hours long at a NASCAR race.
Yep.
And you got pit stops, you got a lot of action going on. And I agree, it's great to go to a race because when you go to a race one time and you experience it, then when you see it on TV, you remember that live experience and it just adds to what you're watching. NHRA's like on crack compared to that. You can watch it on TV. It's 10 times. And I tell everybody, once you've went to a NASCAR race, if you go for the whole weekend and camp and do the whole experience, that is a great way to do a NASCAR race. If you're just going for a race day, you might as well just stay at home and watch it on TV because you can hear the radio transmissions and the crew, the spotter and the crew chief talking to the driver. You can see the telemetry. You can see all the replays. You go to an NHRA drag race, and when you buy your ticket, it's not, you can go to a NASCAR race. You can't walk in the garage area and go around the cars and the haulers. You go to a drag race, an NHRA race, you buy your ticket, you and your family walk in, you're walking through the pit area. You're literally at my pit. Periodically through the day, I go out and sign autographs at the ropes. I mean, you can't get any closer access than what NHRA gives you. The guys are building and rebuilding the motors in the pits in between runs.
That's awesome.
We do the warm up in there, and it's like I said, nitromethane. So the fumes, the sound of it, the smell of it, you can't get that off of TV. So versus going to like a NASCAR race, you hear the sound and you might smell it a little bit. You might smell the rubber a little bit. You go to a drag race, they're doing the burnout. You smell the burnout and you feel the concussion in your body of 12,000 horsepower. So you go to a drag race one time. I think that was probably the coolest thing last year when I ran Top Fuel full time, was meeting fans that said, this is our first drag race. So I'm like, well, what made you come? Well, they said, well, we followed you in NASCAR forever. And so I would always ask them if it was early in the day and they hadn't watched the cars run yet. I said, come by later in the day and tell me what you thought before you leave. The number one response, overwhelming response was, we had no idea. That's what these fans are saying. Had no idea how great it was. So it's like I tell everybody, you just got to get somebody to the track one time. Let them feel it, let them smell it, let them see what the experience is like. And we're in an era where everything is immediate gratification.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody has patience. Nobody wants to sit for 4 hours for an event. You can sit there and watch a whole round of qualifying in an hour, Top Fuel qualifying and funny car qualifying in an hour. So, and it's going off every 2.5 minutes, basically. So, I mean, it's instant gratification. Obviously sports betting and everything is becoming bigger and bigger, and NHRA is getting into the gambling space as well. I mean, every 2 minutes you got a different bet coming up. It's a whole different
Yeah,
race.
that
Sounds
Bet all over
overwhelming.
again.
blast.
You don't have
Right.
to wait for 3.5 hours to see how your bet turns out.
This question is for Spider. Spider, didn't you think that was a perfect opportunity for Tony to invite us to one of these events? Maybe get us up on the box and stuff like that?
Large, I think I'm going to go out to Joliet in a couple weeks and go
Oh,
cheer on Tony firsthand. You're more than welcome to come join me.
And there is no box, though. I mean, we're not sitting our ass on a box for 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the guys literally, we pull the car to the staging lanes with a tow vehicle. They unhook the car. We go to the water box. We fire it up. I mean, the guys are standing there. 3 of those guys will jump back in that tow vehicle. 2 of them are wiping the back tires off when we're getting ready to stage the car. And they wipe them. They get in the tow vehicle, and they're already heading down the racetrack to meet me at the top end once our run's over. I get to the top end, get out of the car, already have my helmet and gloves off before they get there. That's how quick we're getting down the racetrack.
Large. I speak for myself,
overwhelming.
but I'm definitely going to try to be there. I'm definitely looking forward to NHRA at Joliet here in a couple of weeks. Maybe I'll bring our guy Jacob with us. Another thing I'm really looking forward to is Kyle Larson's double duty. And I know this is something you've done twice now, 1999 and 2001. You're the only one to complete all 1,100 miles. What advice would you give to Kyle Larson, and talk to us about what kind of feat that actually is required to make that happen?
I think Kyle's got the feat of all 1,100 miles. Kyle should be able to do that.
Yeah.
No problem. That's not as hard as it used to be. Back in the day, when Robbie Gordon did it and John Andretti did it, Kurt Busch has done it once. The reliability of the Indy cars wasn't as good. The reliability of the stock cars wasn't as good. So the 1,100 miles he should be able to do. What Kyle's is shooting for is to break finishing 6th or better in the 500 and 3rd or better in the 600, which is doable. It's very doable. He can accomplish that. He's the type of guy and the type of talent that if he doesn't make any mistakes at Indy, I mean, you think about last year, he was in a good position to have a solid finish. And it was all on speeding on getting on pit road.
Right.
And you can practice that on practice days and this and that. But when you get to race day, that atmosphere at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway is totally different than practice and qualifying days. So if he can not make the mistakes, he had a mistake here already in practice, just a small bobble. It doesn't take much to ruin your day at Indy. So it's about putting 500 solid miles there. You get him to Charlotte, that's like he can do that with blindfolded and one hand tied behind his back. He has a shot to win that, no doubt.
Yeah.
Indy's the variable of the equation. It's going to be the tougher of the two. But IndyCar racing, I mean, the last time I ran the double was in 2001. And I can promise you the competition is way tighter now in IndyCar than it was then.
Right.
So that's why if he even matches it or comes close to what we did finish-wise, I feel like he's outperformed what we did. It's just a harder era both in the Cup side and in the IndyCar side, but it is literally just about Indy is about not making mistakes. If you don't make mistakes and you get yourself to that last stint or two of the race where you're trying to get yourself in position to race for that win, then you're in a good spot. But any one mistake, if it's a pit deal, if somebody screws up and leaves a wheel loose and you have to come back in, if you stall the motor on the pit stop trying to leave the pits, those are the things that can take you out of that opportunity. So for Kyle, it's about not making mistakes at the 500, staying focused, remembering. I mean, the good thing is the Cup cars are really aero sensitive as well, but the Indy cars are definitely more aero sensitive than the stock cars are. So he has to be mindful of where he's at in traffic, how many cars are in front of him, where are they at. You would prefer to get the left side of the front wing in clean air if at all possible versus the right side, but the right side's better than nothing. So always making sure that the car's drivable in traffic, and that's hard to do because the first part of the week you're kind of worrying about qualifying, I guess. And now with the abbreviated schedule, I'm understanding they spend more time early in the week on race setup, and then a day or 2 days before qualifying is when they put the focus on the qualifying setup. But it's literally understanding all these little nuances at Indianapolis that these other guys that he's racing with know it like the back of their hand. That's what they drive all the time. So he has to catch up to those guys to have that opportunity. But I mean, realistically, he's in a car and he's with a team that's capable of winning the Indy 500, and he's damn sure with a team in Charlotte that can win the Coke
Absolutely.
600 at the same time.
So would you be upset if he breaks your record?
No, not at all.
You're pulling
Man,
for
I'm
him.
a huge Kyle Larson fan.
Yeah.
Just because I appreciate his talent. I mean, I grew up in the dirt space just like he did, and watching him run a dirt car, I mean, I'm a fan watching him race. So, and records are made to be broken.
Yeah.
You know, it's inevitable that it's going to happen at some point. But I feel like Kyle is the guy that could legitimately do that, and he could do it this year.
Do you hold any records that you think will never be broken?
I feel like what we did at Las Vegas with NHRA and winning that Top Fuel race and our previous history, I don't feel like anybody's going to top that or equal it. I don't think you're going to have somebody that's going to win an IndyCar race, a stock car race, and then it's going to go to drag racing and win a Top Fuel race. I just don't see it happening.
And I know Large joke that your headstone will read "crazy motherfucker" or whatever he said.
Crazy son of a bitch.
Yeah, crazy son of a bitch. That's a little bit more PG. Thank you, Large.
Yeah.
I don't think when I'm dead, I don't really care if it's PG or not. You put on there whatever. We can spice it up however we like. At that point, my give an F meter.
I'll already be dead, Tony, so I'll never see it. So it doesn't really matter.
I guess my question is, like, out of all the accolades and all the success you've had amongst, very diverse racing disciplines, what are you most proud of to date with your racing career?
I think when it comes to that question, I have two answers for it. I think winning the USAC Triple Crown in '95, winning the National Midget, National Sprint, and the Silver Crown Championships all in the same season. That's something that I'm forever going to be proud of, because that's winning one of those is hard. Winning two of them is obviously harder, and winning three is way harder. There's only been a couple drivers that have ever done that in one season. There's less than 10 drivers that have won in all three disciplines, period, not in the same season.
Right.
So that's hard by itself. But I would say that and the championship at Homestead in 2011, with all the drama that happened that day. I mean, there was enough drama in that race to be dramatic for 5 races.
Right.
We had rain delays. We had car damage, not once, but twice, that we had to go to the back to fix. A bad pit stop that was late in the race that put us in a bad spot, and then a strategy at the end of trying to save fuel, and literally Carl Edwards leading the race, us running second at the time, and I get a call on the radio from the crew chief to start saving fuel. Well, the only way you save fuel is to slow down, and he is literally 4 or 5 car lengths in front of me. And I asked him for a whole lap. I said, "Are you sure?" Silence for about half a lap, and he goes, "Yes, I need you to start saving fuel right now." And so when you start saving fuel and you watch the car in front of you going further and further away and getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and you're like, "I'm giving this championship away right now as a driver." But you're in the seat of the car, and they're looking at data and they're crunching numbers, and the computers and the calculators are going berserk back there. They're trying to figure fuel mileage out. That was a strategy that won us the race, that got us that track position at the end. So that moment in the Triple Crown, by far the two single biggest things I feel like in my career that at the end of the day that I want people to remember.
I got one more Large follow up.
Take your time.
Favorite trophy you've ever won, any discipline of racing? I know NASCAR's got a lot of them. You got the Lobster in New Hampshire. You got a grandfather clock. You got, swords. Is there one that you have in your trophy case that's like, maybe not the race itself, but like you're most happy with?
It's not even a single race trophy. It's the one that NASCAR, the Goodyear, does for the Cup Champion each year. They do a gold car, and it is a replica of I think it's 18th scale. It's a replica of your car. So it's gold plated, and your number and your sponsor logos are all etched in it. So you can see it, but it's just monotone. It's one tone. It's gold. The thing that makes that trophy so impressive is when you look inside the car. And this is back, even in 11, we didn't have the digital dashes and all that. So everybody's gauge cluster of where their independent gauges was driver preference. And so you obviously don't want the gauge being behind the steering wheel. So you got gauges up here, and under the wheel and all that. The switches for the ignition switch and starter and the fans and all this, I had 2 of those that had extensions on it, so it was easier to reach. When I got those cars, I mean, that is Goodyear by far, in my opinion, has the coolest motorsports trophy of all time. The Borg Warner Trophy for winning the Indy 500. Badass. Don't have one of those yet. Probably, well, I'm not going to have one because I probably won't ever race the Indy 500 again. But I think it's a cooler trophy than that. Sentimentally, I understand why the Borg Warner Trophy carries so much weight and the Harley J. Earl Trophy for the Daytona 500. But of the ones I have 3 of those Goodyear cars that they give the champion, and by far, in my opinion, that is the coolest trophy in motorsports.
Unfortunately for Denny Hamlin, he can't be mentioned without mentioning how he doesn't have a championship. So
He's got some Harley J. Earls, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So we've heard from various drivers. Remember when Joe Logano had said like he'd give up 5 regular season wins for one Daytona 500 trophy or something like that. So talk to me about that. Since you already don't have much room for any new trophies, does that stick in your craw that you don't have the Daytona and the Indy 500 one? Or is it just something to be like, I don't know, I got the championships? Because I think the inverse is definitely true. People who retire without championships tend to regret it. You know what I mean? So sure. Is there some degree of, like you had just said, when I win the Indianapolis 500, then you're like, fuck, I don't think I'm going to race in the Indianapolis 500. Right. Is it something that's a big regret of yours in an otherwise, stellar fucking career?
I don't know if you can call it regret or not. It's not like I had a choice. I mean, we tried to win it and just didn't accomplish it. So I don't know that I would call it regret necessarily. Does it eat at me? Absolutely. I mean, you want to win the crown jewel events. And there's been a lot of talk since we won the race at Las Vegas a couple weeks ago with the Top Fuel car. And where does that put me in motorsports history? And it's pretty cool when people go, hey, you're the GOAT, and it's like, I'm not the GOAT. I've done some cool things, and I might be on a list of people that are considered for the GOAT, but the Mario Andretti's, the AJ Foyts, I mean, the guys that did win the Indy 500, they won the Daytona 500, won Le Mans. Those are the guys that I feel like are the GOATs. They won on the big stages. When it comes to Daytona now, and man, I mean, I'm going to get crucified by a lot of people for this. It doesn't, in my eyes, it doesn't mean the same now as it did 15, 20 years ago. Okay. Anybody can win. I mean, you look at some of the guys that won the Daytona 500. I mean, and I don't want to go into the list of guys because they're guys that I do respect and have friendships with, but they're not guys that should have won the Daytona 500. Right. And they won the Daytona 500, and that's all they've won. They may have won 1 or 2 other races outside of that. Well, we won 49 cup races. Jeff Gordon won 75 cup races. Richard Petty, 199 or 200 cup races. Yeah, I mean, anybody in the field can win the Daytona 500 now. So to me, as much as it's a crown jewel, yeah, I would still go back and I would trade some of my race wins to get.
Would you trade a championship?
No, absolutely not.
Okay,
no way.
Yeah, okay.
I wouldn't trade a championship for 3 Daytona 500 trophies.
That's the answer.
So, but it does mean, even though I don't feel like it carries as much weight as it used to, it still carries the weight because it's still the Daytona 500. It is still the marquee event on the NASCAR schedule. It still has that rich history, but the cars have got so equal that, and you look at guys that are winning some of these, they're not the ones that led the most laps. They're not the ones that were up front. They were the guy that was 2nd or 3rd or 4th when the last lap crash happened and NASCAR hit the button to freeze the field, and they're the winner. So I don't know. I don't hold as much stock in that. I still think the Indianapolis 500, that there isn't going to be those scenarios. You might get somebody that might win it on fuel mileage, but if they did, they won it on fuel mileage. And there was a strategy that won them that race. Not they won it because the leader in 2nd place got wrecked on the last lap, and you were the 3rd guy in line that benefited from it.
Makes sense. William Byron didn't deserve it. Screw it. No, but like we're lucky enough that we get the Daytona 500 winner in this office, and there is a degree of pomp and circumstance with the ring and the watch and the huge trophy, and they take the car into the museum. So I do always like that. Listen, we've fallen in love with NASCAR, right? And it just kind of runs over into other motorsports. That's why I'm so curious about the whole drag racing thing. While we cover a lot of sports here in Barstool, And I've never seen fans of a sport be such complainers as you do in NASCAR. I've never seen, particularly on social media, the animosity towards the organization itself.
Well,
And
think
it's,
about this though.
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, just look at Talladega last week. Joey ran second. One screw out of his windshield, lost second place. One screw.
Yeah, and
I
Priest.
think he finished like
Priest
fourth.
had one extra shim or something in a splitter.
Yeah.
But now, is there a one for one? So, like, the biggest thing I would say that you're going to get from NASCAR fans is softer tires, more horsepower. Is there
That's
a
what the drivers have been saying. Where do you think the fans got this? The fans aren't even smart enough to know that that's what we need, because they don't. And it's not their fault. They don't drive the cars. We came up with that shit years ago and went to NASCAR with it. They were so ignorant. The guy that was in charge of it, that vetoed it, looked at 20 of us drivers, half the field, went to a meeting together with NASCAR. We all agreed on 5 things that we said would make the racing better for the fans, for the drivers, for everybody. And one guy told us all 5 things we said were the opposite. And he goes, our data shows the other way. The guy that said that had never driven a race car, never worked on a race car, but tells us that 20 drivers that have been doing this their entire lives and worked their ass to get to this professional level told us we were all wrong. And not only were we wrong, everything that we said was the polar opposite of what was right.
Is there a comp though to that in all these other, series that you run in? Is there a comp like where more horsepower, softer tires? Is there something in NHRA where they're like, no more 4-wide format? Is there something that sticks in fans' craw in what you're doing right now?
I think the only thing that I've heard since I came on board with NHRA is there's fans that are traditionalists that are upset that Top Fuel and Funny Car doesn't run the full quarter mile, which is 1,320 feet. So they took 320 feet off of that. We raced to 1,000 feet. They were doing that because of the speeds that they were approaching. We literally just had Brittany Force at Charlotte in qualifying run a run at 341 miles an hour in 1,000 feet. The car was running 300 miles an hour at the 1/8 of a mile.
Wow.
1/8 of a mile. And at 660 feet, the car was going 300 miles an hour already. So if you ran, and what the fans that complain about that, they have no idea. They don't work on a car. Mm-hmm. They don't understand the mechanics of it. If you take anything away from anybody, they get pissed off. If NASCAR says we're going to take the race from 500 miles to 400 miles, people are going to lose their damn minds. And it's not going to change anything, but just make them get home quicker. The race at the end is still going to be the same race. But if people get something taken away from them, they lose their damn minds.
Right.
So it's just asinine, the mindset behind a lot of it. But I think that's the only thing on the NHRA side that I've seen is just people like, they need to be running a full quarter mile. No, they won't. The motors won't take it. The technology won't take it. The tires won't take it. Goodyear cannot build a tire that we would be over 350 miles an hour. We don't need to be going 350 miles an hour. Oh. The other reason for not going 350 miles an hour, what goes up must come down. So you get to the finish line and you're running 350 miles an hour. Now you got to take that same race car and get it to stop.
Get it to zero.
Yeah. At Pomona, the end of the drag strip, at the end of the pavement is a sand trap. And at the end of the sand trap is a big oversized like ski net on steroids to stop the cars. On the other side of that is a row of bushes and a city street. So now if we ran these cars all the way to the quarter mile, we wouldn't be able to get stopped. Some of them haven't got stopped the last couple of years there, and if both parachutes don't blossom and it's on one parachute, it will go into the sand trap. So now you're putting drivers and pedestrians' safety on the line because somebody's greedy and wants us to run 320 feet further. So that's really the only thing in the drag racing side. The tech side of it, it's great. I think they've been more proactive. I've been around the sport now for 5 years. And the last 2 years in particular, the tech has been really good. They're always checking something. So they're always keeping the teams on their toes. But we're driving cars that have so much horsepower. It's not about teching the motors of how much power we have. It's about how do we have to control it. And that's where we're going to get the speed, is controlling that power. NASCAR and IndyCar, that's a way different deal, where they can use everything they've got. I mean, they're always looking for more. But when you brought up the thing that just absolutely struck a nerve with me,
No, absolutely.
we said years ago, I think it was 2014 or 2013, we all went to NASCAR and said, give us softer tires that wear out, that fall off. Then it's a chess match. Then the drivers have to manage the tire wear. If you want to run balls to the walls at the beginning of the run, go for it. We'll just move over and let you go. But also, that car is going to run out of tire and it's going to slow down and we're going to pass them back. That's 2 passes with 2 cars in one stint. Where now it's the race off a pit road and nobody can pass each other because they've made them so even. The tires are so hard that nobody can pass anybody. Yeah. But 20 of us drivers didn't know what we were talking about with NASCAR officials.
Because he had the data.
Because he had bullshit data that was inaccurate and didn't want to listen to the teams and drivers. So they've built their own coffin. The reason they're not having full stands is because I sit there at drag races and talk to NASCAR fans every week that come, and they're mad at NASCAR. Well, NASCAR's apparently not smart enough to want to listen to them anymore. And before, that would have got me a fine. A year ago, I would have got fined for what I just said. Mm-hmm. I don't work for them anymore. I can say whatever the hell I want.
Oh, they could take your hard card away, Tony. I heard you still had the hard card.
Take
no,
it.
They want it back.
I'll ship
Mail
it to them.
Me.
I will ship it to them. They can have it.
Mail it to me signed. It'll be on eBay in minutes.
They care more about how much money they're going to put in their pockets than they are making sure that the teams are healthy and can bring competitive race cars to the track and what's best for the fans. The only thing that's going to stop and change NASCAR's mind if people stop watching and stop going to races. Other than that, they're raking in money. They don't give 2 shits about the teams, the competitors. They don't care. As long as the fans are happy, and the fans aren't happy, but they're still going to watch every week. And until they stop watching, nothing's going to change with NASCAR. They don't have to change.
I think we're going to wrap up. Tony's got a hard out, correct, Spider?
Yeah, that's right. We're going to have to continue this conversation, though. I could listen to you speak at length.
Let me say this before I go, though.
Fucking 2 pages of questions. Honest to God, it's one of those things where I could keep going with you forever. But please, wrap up. What do you want to say, Tony?
I will say this. As much as I give NASCAR a hard time, there are equally as many great things about the sport that they should be proud of and are proud of because it's got that history. It's not that they do everything wrong. They don't do everything wrong, but there's so many things and they've gone down a path for so long that they have created a monster that's put them in the box that they're in. There's still a ton of things every week to be excited about going to a NASCAR race. I didn't like NASCAR when I quit driving and I started being in the broadcast booth. I'm still a fan of NASCAR. I still like to watch NASCAR races, but I also know the inner workings of it, and I know the hurdles and roadblocks that internally NASCAR has created for itself, and that's the part that pisses you off and frustrates you, knowing how much better it could be. And then I go to an NHRA drag race, and you watch the fans, and they can be in the pit area. They're watching and getting autographs from the drivers and having a blast. And it's like they're doing it right. It's like you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out how to do the equation right. Look at the grief they're giving Kyle Larson and the rule changes and stuff about, and I haven't even looked at it. I've just heard rumblings about it, but right. Instead of working with Kyle and Hendrick and working with them and making it a grand big day, instead now they're dividing themselves from the IndyCar fans because it doesn't make them the number one. They actually got to work with somebody and share the spotlight a little bit. And now you're now you got fans that are pissed off even more about it. The dirt track community are all Kyle Larson fans. And every time NASCAR does this, more dirt track fans get pissed off and want to get away from it. More NASCAR fans that are traditionalists can't stand it. They've got things that are positive that they could work off of and fix it. They don't have thick enough skin to listen to their own fans, their own competitors, to do the right things. But there's still that core base and core value of NASCAR that's still amazing. And it's still there and it's still worth watching. So we're not telling people to not watch NASCAR. I can promise you that. That would be the worst thing out of this that I would want.
I'd have to cut this whole interview. Yeah, right. I'd have to cut the interview.
I'm still a NASCAR fan. Right. I just know that where they're at, they could be so much stronger and so much healthier than where they are. And they are the root of their own problem at this point. This is why fans are not sellout crowds anymore at NASCAR races. It's NASCAR's fault. It's not the drivers. It's not the teams. It's not Goodyear. It's not anybody else. It's NASCAR as a sanctioning body. They are their own worst enemy right now. And they absolutely get butthurt if somebody tries to tell them that. They don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
But their phone fans are the ones that are trying to tell them. So hopefully one day they'll listen. And I don't know if it's so far down the road. I mean, they brought out a new car that a sports car manufacturer made, and if you spin out and you get 2 flat tires, you can't even drive your car back to the pits anymore. That should be the wake up call. And how long have we had the new car now? 4 years?
Yeah, something like that.
And you still can't drive the damn car back to the pits. It's like, how damn stupid is this? But who am I? I'm just some dumb guy that drives a race car around. What do I know?
Yeah, this is Tony Stewart. He's trying to convince us he's not the GOAT, but I think there's an argument. I also think, Spider, that Dominic, we've only mentioned the son a little bit. I'm envisioning the first midget, maybe go-kart driver who's going to be wearing diapers. This kid's got no shot. I mean, he's got to be behind the wheel pronto. Tony, thank you so much for giving us your time. I hope to see you at any one of the tracks where you could be racing, maybe in a swamp buggy. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah, if I do that, you got to be my crew chief. You got to come down and help me out.
Oh, please, I'll cater the thing at least. Yeah.
Just tell me you know how to swim. That's all. That's the biggest thing if we're going to do a swamp.
I'm like a manatee. I have no natural defenses, but I'm graceful in the water. Don't worry about me, Tony.
Perfect.
All right, it's perfect meeting you, my friend. I hope to talk to you again. Have a good one.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right, so that's Tony Stewart. Spider, I think he's the type of guy you say, "Good morning, Tony," and he gives you a 20-minute answer, right? That guy can fucking talk, and I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, I loved it. We're going to need to have him back on the show because I feel like it wasn't until the second half of that interview that we really started getting the old Tony Stewart. I feel like that was what the viral clips I see of him just like going hard on the media when someone asks him a silly question. Not that you asked him a silly question, Large. You asked him a great question, and I think it kind of struck a nerve with him in the sense where he really felt passionate about where he stands with the sport, which was unbelievable insight. And even after the interview, we had some great conversations, and he's a guy I could speak to forever. And I think everything he's done in racing, whether it be NASCAR, NHRA, whatever kind of car, he's just one of the best drivers ever amongst various different motorsports disciplines. And I think his resume speaks to that. And I think we all need to get to a NHRA race. Maybe I'll hit the one in Joliet here, go cheer him on.
Yeah.
But no, really great to have Tony Stewart on. And he's a man of his word. He came in to this office about a year ago and did some stuff with the Stretch and our Chicago guys here. And I got to meet him then. And he said, I'll come back and speak NASCAR at some point. And as much as we spoke about, a wide array of everything he's done in his career, he really sounded off on where he stands with NASCAR, which I thought was very valuable insight and a little bit of context as to what he's up to now,
Yeah. I got very comfortable talking to him. Like I felt like that became, we went from being strangers to not friends, obviously, but I have a question. I didn't get to a lot of my questions. We kind of had that a little cut short or whatever. So by the end of that interview, when everything was kind of flowing and everything was kind of whatever, friendly, I was going to ask him, in 2007, you appeared in a commercial for Subway with Jared Fogle. Do you regret that? I was going to say that. Well, how do you think you would have reacted to that? Would that have been a terrible joke? Because sometimes I ask people terrible things. Could I gotten away with that? Where he would have been like, fuck, I can't remember. You know what I mean? What do you think?
I think he would have been like, listen, man, sponsorship drives the sport. At the time, This was the best move forward. So obviously he's not fond of that now. But I think if you ask... Though. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I could see him ripping you a new asshole, or I could see him just laughing it off.
Yeah, I was 5 minutes away from getting an asshole rip. What did you think of it as from a fan's perspective, kind of knows about it, Quiggs and Moon? What did you think, Quiggs?
I'll let Moon answer. I haven't
Moon, what did you think when you'd seen this guy kind of get in there and chat it up with us?
Man, what an interview. That was, I feel like a lot of times we forget that a lot of the folks that we have on the show, or any show for that matter, not just this one, they're still actively involved in the sport. They could still get fined. That was my favorite line, was Stewart saying a year ago they could have fined me for saying this stuff. But now you've got a guy who is off drag racing and genuinely doesn't give a shit what people think about what he says. And I think it all comes from a good place. He was critical of the sport, but he was also very, very fair and gave praise where praise was due. And I don't think Tony Stewart wants to see NASCAR fail. I think it's actually the opposite. I think that's why he gets so fired up. But I thought it was a great interview. Yes, he could talk. He may have been a little long-winded at times, but that was just passion. I mean, it sounded like me on my back porch talking to my buddies about everything wrong with NASCAR. So I'm sure the listeners have loved listening to it so far, and I hope we have him back, because I could take another 30 or 40 minutes or whatever it was of him rambling about that stuff.
I think Moonhead brings up a good point, and that, it seemed to me, my take from this whole interview, sure, he was a little bit critical of NASCAR, but as Moonhead said, it comes from a good place. It seemed like a guy who was critical because he knows how good the sport could be with just a couple modifications, or a couple more I don't know what I'm trying to say, more willingness to listen to the drivers that actually wield these cars. And if NASCAR were to hear their feedback on changes and things that they can make, it might be in a better spot. It's almost like, and there's probably a better analogy for this, like a parent who has like a drug addict kid that has to cut him free. Like, they love him so much, but they're at a point where, like, hey, the best thing for you is if you just like figure it out on your own. I've tried giving you all the advice and all the love I could give you, and was seemingly still not in cohesion. So yeah, I thought it was great. And I think, as Moonhead said, he loves the sport so much that he's upset about how great it could be, and their kind of stubbornness to make a few modifications that would mean the world of difference on track with the product.
Do you guys agree with me, though, that 53 years old, maybe he shouldn't be going 350 miles an hour? Honestly, like, when is this guy going to slow down? Everyone else seems to be going into booths and stuff. He's jumping into drag racing. It's extraordinary. He's an extraordinary guy, and I know that he was downplaying the word GOAT, but I mean, winning races now as a drag racer, he's definitely in the conversation, right? I mean, there's no doubt about it. Let's talk about what's going on this weekend. We're going to Texas Motor Speedway. This is the track where a lot of guys say we could cut this one from the schedule, right? We had Chase Elliott say that it seems to be one of those ones that's not a favorite of drivers, not for a lot of viewers either. Nonetheless, we got a full schedule of races. So let's see what happens. Trucks have the Speedy Cash 250 on Friday. Catch that action starting at 8 p.m. on FS1. Hocevar will be in the number 7 for Spire. I believe they'll still be riding the Dente this weekend. Xfinity, the Andes 300 on Saturday at 2 p.m. on the CW. Riley Herbst will be in the 19 for Joe Gibbs Racing. And as we had said before, Kyle Larson's going to jump in for an injured Connor Zilish. And then Cup race number 11 of 36 of the 2025 season, the Worth 400 on Sunday, May the 4th. May the 4th be with you, 3:30 p.m. on FS1. Talladega marked the final race on network TV for NASCAR's Cup Series until August 23rd. So we will not be on a real network, not a real network, but on a major network again until the end of August, because we're going to go FS1, Prime, TNT, USA, and then NBC. So you can catch all the action on TV, feel the thrill in person, secure your NASCAR seat today at NASCAR.com. Chase Elliott's going to be your defending champ. Here's his paint scheme for the week. Did you guys see that gold thing?
Yeah, that thing's sick.
Ugly.
Yeah.
You don't like
You like
it?
that thing?
Nah.
I thought it was cool. I mean,
all right, let's go. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Chase Elliott's Napa 100 anniversary thing. Solid gold. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Spider, you give me a thumbs up. Moon, what are you doing? We have a split vote here.
Yeah,
it's one or the other. No in betweens.
Yeah, no.
Austin Hill with the Gorillas.
I love what they're going for, but it's too. It looks like a spicy mustard more than a gold to me. So I'm gonna go no.
It should be more gold, but I will
say... If that
say,
was like white with like gold accents, it'd be sick.
It was 2-2. Our producer Jacob just broke the tying vote with a thumbs up. So,
oh, nice.
Yeah, shout out Jacob. I personally, I see where you're coming from, Moonhead. I would like it to be a little bit more like gaudy gold, but at the same time, the blue and yellow is iconic with Chase Elliott, and I love iconic paint schemes. But I think, this is a nice variety, like a nice little curveball they're getting. We see Chase in that car so often that it's like, let me see what else he's got up his sleeve. And I think this one works.
Daniel Hemrick's going to have a similar scheme in trucks. Last week we were torn too because everybody on the panel liked Daniel Suarez's Wendy scheme. So it had that little psychedelic rainbowish type thing. I was the only one that didn't. I will say that once I had seen the thing in person, it was still fucking disgusting. So I don't know. We're never going to come to an agreement on that. Let's pick the tires. Let's pick some winners. Somebody other than Spider's got to get one this week. It's
What a
brought to you
card.
by.
Wait, real
What's
quick, while we're still talking paint schemes, Carson Hocevar in the Ride the Dente, he's doing the double. He's got a Ride the Dente truck, and then also in the Cup Series. I think the Ride the Dente scheme is immaculate, obviously, but it looks even better on truck, in my opinion. I thought the truck looks so sick.
Yeah, so he'll be in the 7 for the truck race, and then obviously riding the Dente also on Sunday with Cup. Picking the tires coming up next. It's brought to you by DraftKings. It's for NASCAR this week. From green flag to checkered flag to every lap in between, the action around the oval is practically nonstop. The only way to get closer to the action is if you're not behind the wheel. If you're not behind the wheel, is at DraftKings Sportsbook, an authorized gaming operator of NASCAR. Here, have a favorite driver you're pulling for. Make your weekend even more exciting. Throw down some cash and join him in the winner's circle. DraftKings has practically limitless betting, live betting, props, parlays, and so much more. There's something for everyone, beginner to expert. And here's something special for you first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Take the checkered flag with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code Rubbin. That's code Rubbin for new customers. Get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. All right. Does anybody want to go first? I have picks that I don't think anybody else will have because I don't have any real strong feelings this week. But
go ahead, Larch.
Now, let me just log in. Does anybody else smile when they do facial recognition, or is it just the old guy?
No, that's just you.
That's just me.
Yeah.
All right. What I got?
Anyone else not getting odds?
Yeah, I think they just took down the odds
yeah.
as we were recording.
Right. So I had grabbed a Chevy, a Toyota, and a Ford. I grabbed Alex Bowman to get a top 10. He's even money. I had Alex Bowman top 10 in a Chevy. He's even money plus 100. I got Ryan Blaney as the top Ford at plus 150. So I'm not going like real long odds at all. So Ryan Blaney is the top Ford plus 150, and I'm going to take a Toyota to win it at plus 150. So I got a Toyota winning it. I got Ryan Blaney as the top Ford, and I got Alex Bowman in a Chevy making it into the top 10. Those are my 3 for this week. Oh, and I also threw a little on Carson Hocevar to win the truck race at plus 350. So those are my 4 bets.
I love it. I think I'm going to tail you on the truck bet, Large.
Yeah. I threw that in last minute. I didn't mean to throw that in.
No, I love it. On the Cup level, I'm going with William Byron. I think he's really good at this track. If you look at the last 3 races at Texas for him, he's got an average finish of 3.7, including 1 win and 2 top 5. So William Byron seemingly has been one of the best next-gen drivers. I think he's proven that he can do it at a wide variety of tracks. And I like to see him get back to victory lane this week. I think he's around 6.5 to 1, 6 to 1. And don't quote me on that because, like I said, they are updating the odds as we speak on DraftKings, and it looks like they're back. But I'm going to take William Byron. The other cars I'm looking at, I think there's something to be said about Chase Elliott here. And he's a guy that's he's 12 to 1. But to me, if you hate a place and then simultaneously win there, there's something to be said about that. So
Yeah.
I'm a little bit intrigued by Chase Elliott, who's 12 to 1 on DraftKings. And I'm going to take William Byron. 6.5 to 1 is my main pick this weekend. I also think Chase Briscoe's another guy. He's gotten 3 top 10s in his last 3 races here, an average finish of 7th. And none of those came in this Joe Gibbs equipment he's wheeling now. Now, he is minus 200 for a top 10 last I saw. So I might be more inclined to take him top 5 or something like that. But Chase Briscoe would be a Toyota that I look at for this week. So, yeah, those are my 3 main plays. Another guy that's pretty good here is that seemingly not really talked about is Eric Jones. I might take him for a top 10.
Ooh.
Yeah, he would probably
Riggs
be
hates that.
my juicy
I
guy.
do.
And again, the top 10 odds are not up right now, but I want to say he was somewhere between plus 300, plus 400 for a top 10. So might do a little sprinkle on that, but I'm riding with Willie B most importantly this week, and I think he'll get back to victory lane here.
I like it. And you're throwing in with Hocevar with me.
Yeah, and
Right,
Hocevar in the
day
truck
Friday.
series.
Yeah. What do you got, Quicks?
I'm going with some guys, which I don't know if I love this card or hate it. Some guys that have been historically good here in the next gen car, but just haven't had it lately. And those guys are Brad K to win plus 3,500, Kyle Busch to win plus 1,600, and then having a little bit better year, Chase Briscoe. I like the Chase Briscoe pick, and that's plus 1,600. But yeah, Brad K is last 6 races, 6 top 10s, average finish is 6th, and then I guess it's just a little bit of, you got to weigh in the fact that he's kind of struggling this year, but
Doesn't have a top 10 yet this season.
Yeah,
Poor
they
bastard.
gotta happen sometime.
Yeah.
Brad K will just come out of nowhere and win.
Yeah. Moon, anything jump out of you?
I feel strongest about, I guess I'm copying Spider, but Chase Elliott, just because of recent events at Texas, and even though the gold car is ugly, I think I'm going to go with him.
You're going to ride with Chase Elliott.
Yeah.
All right, so that's it for us this week.
I
go ahead.
also got I got a Daytona.
Wait a sec. No, you got a Derby pick.
I got a Kentucky Derby pick.
I apologize. Go ahead.
Horse's name is Admire Daytona, 30-1.
Ooh.
So I feel like given our efforts, given our love for racing, we got to sprinkle.
Great name.
I'll be at DraftKings Wrigleyville here in Chicago with myself, Mike Kadick, and Ben Mintz, and we're doing a DraftKings Kentucky Derby party. So come on over there if you're local to the Chicago area. I might wear my Chili's cowboy hat, and I will be pulling for Admire Daytona. Aside from that, download the Pick 6 app by DraftKings. I got a link in my bio where you can sign up, and you will get $50 in credits after your first $5 lineup. I didn't have much success at Pick 6 at Talladega, but Texas is a little bit back. It's a little bit more predictable. So hopefully we'll have some good luck this week. And yeah, check it out. They got everything from NASCAR to PGA, UFC, NFL, NBA, everything you can think of. And it's worth a look. $50 in credits after your first $5 lineup. Tell them Spider sent you. Tweet me your lineup. I will repost it, and we'll ride together.
A new episode of You Gotta Try This drops today. Also, I got Pat on just to talk about all the disgusting food we had in Talladega. It could be one of the worst. My gout toe is itching from this weekend still. Yeah. So it's one of those type of weekends. And we're also covering the fights. Big fight. They closed down Times Square. They put a ring right in the middle of Times Square. Ryan Garcia is fighting Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney. So it's big. That's happening on Friday night. So tune into that on DAZN. And other than that, we will see you guys next week on Rubbin is Racing.